All right, today is February 14th, 2025. Going to bring you a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. It's been a while. Not a whole lot has changed. We're just kind of stuck in a winter patterns, and there's just not a lot changes, this time of year for the last several weeks. It's kind of been the same. Water level is 656.74. It has dropped down some, but now for the last week or so, it's kind of been holding steady. They're calling, for their winter drawdown like we always have. They're saying 654. I've seen it get there a couple times. Usually, 655, 6, is about as low as it goes. But you never know what they'll do. They may draw it down more or leave it where it's at. But most of your boat ramps are open, no issues with ice. Low water, Pahitsi, once it drops down, I think it's 656 maybe, or 655, I think it is. But either way, it starts getting a little iffy. There's a lot of stuff out there to hit, your props and stuff on. So normally when it gets that low, they'll put some barricades up, so you don't use it. What other ramps? Maybe in the back of Lynn Creek, that one, once it gets any lower, that gets tough to put in. Wigwam up there at the 66, you can normally get put in there, but it's pretty shallow once it gets down 655. Brown's Bend over there, same deal there. There's usually enough water, but there's kind of a prop wash at that back, at the end of the ramp, that it can get you if you're not really careful. So be real careful at Brown's Bend if you put in up there, if that water gets much lower than now. But the others, Larry Gale, PB2, Shawnee, Hurricane Deck, Kaufman, they're all good to go. So we're ice free right now, but they are calling for some pretty good cold weather. So I wouldn't doubt some the backs freezing back up, the backs of these coves, back of the creeks and stuff freezing up, back on them flats. I don't know, a lot of that depends on if we have calm cold nights. It'll freeze pretty quick. If it stays kind of windy and choppy, it won't. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens, with the weather here the next week or so. I know it's cold out there today. It's been cold out, but we've had a chance to get out quite a bit. Last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, we fished a Bass World tournament, our last qualifying one of the winter series, just a week and a half ago. Another tough tournament. I think 14 something won it. Gary Burris from Sport World and his boy Luke won that one. They've been on a pretty good run here. I forget what it, but then it dropped fairly quick. There was a 13 and a half. They had all Kentuckies, 13 and a half pound, beautiful Kentuckies. James Frank and his partner, but that were some pretty fish. And
7 pounds get a check.
yeah, I think 7.5 got a check. So that's pretty tough. All the other tournaments and stuff, it's been about the same. 1 or 2 guys will catch them pretty good, and then it drops off pretty quick. It's been nothing for 9-10 pounds to get a check. So that's kind of the tournament scene here lately. But we're in the middle of winter. Water temps in the 30s. You might have 40 down lake. I doubt it. It's probably 39, 40 there. I know, up the river arms, creek arms and stuff, it's 36, 37 degrees. So about as cold as it's going to get without freezing, but we're in the middle of February. It's the same every year. As we get to the end of February, things will start changing. The fish will be getting closer to spawning. We'll start getting some warmer days, longer days. The longer days and closer to spawning season means more to me than anything else. And that's what gets these fish starting to come up, suspend a little bit, maybe move back. come up a little higher and feed a little more on these channel swing banks, or even start venturing out from the rock ledgy channel stuff to more maybe a little pea gravel mix, pea gravel pockets, long pea gravel points, stuff like that. They'll start roaming up there at the end of February, early March, and that's we'll be there in just a couple weeks. So we've been bass fishing, doing a lot of trying to really figure them out in the winter, and we'll catch a few, but haven't really got on one of those solid winter patterns. We'll catch plenty of fish. Last week, a week and a half ago, when we fished that last bass board, we probably caught 20 fish or so, but we only had 2 keepers. But we caught a lot of 14 inchers, and some smaller than that. But we had 2 keepers, and we were catching them really deep, 22 foot of water, which normally this time of year we can catch them in, I don't know, 8 to 12, maybe even a little less. And we just haven't been able to put that together for whatever reason. The shad, a lot of shad are out deep, but a lot of shad are back in the backs of these creeks. So if they're back there, I know the bass are back there, but it's just been tough like it normally is. So that'll change here pretty soon. The crappie has still been pretty good. As far as crappie, Denise has been out quite a bit crappie fishing, and when the bass get to you, after trying to catch them and they don't want to bite very good, we'll switch over and catch some crappie. So, crappie, what have you been throwing for crappie here?
Well, there's been about three different patterns and techniques that I've been using this time of year. Of course, you almost always have those fish that are relating to the docks. So when you're talking about fishing docks this time of year, you're going to have to shoot your. That's when you put on a straight tail crappie jig. You can shoot in there where you've got your brush piles or where you have your schools of fish, or a lot of times you've got those cables that
little straight tail.
Little straight tail. Yep.
Living the dream, little straight tail crappie jig. What she's been throwing or shooting in them docks.
Yeah, and basically that can be productive. A lot of times too, I'll look in those open boat slips and still, shoot way up in there, try to get up in the front of the dock where the foam is up front, and then just let it vertically drop and then slow, retrieve it back. I've also got the Kitech that we frequently use. This is more, this is going to be your open water technique, where you're going to be using it around brush piles that you see. Also, we are getting a lot of those fish now. They're schooling, and you can cast
Schooling,
this.
what, like out in the open?
Schooling out in the open, and so you can cast past the school, and this has that swimming tail, so you can retrieve it back then. Back to the boat with that swimming tail. That seems to be effective. As far as the jig head size, we've got 2 sizes. We use an 1/8 ounce or a 1/16 ounce. The 1/8 ounce is going to have that faster fall. That's great to use when it's windy or you're fishing deeper. So then you've got that faster rate of fall. Or your 1/16 ounce, you can, when you're not fishing as deep or the water's nice and calm. And the head itself does have that screw lock that really, you basically twist your bait on all the way up to the head of the jig, and that really holds that bait on. A lot of times if they grab this Kitech, they'll take that tail off before the whole body of the jig comes off. So that's just a great, that screw lock.
Are you still shooting
Great.
under them swim platforms and alongside boat lifts and
Yes.
to shoot them, and that's where you're going to
Absolutely.
use that straight tail crappie jig, you know, where more of a vertical fall, you know, compared to,
Yeah,
catch
this
on
is
that.
more, this is a swim and cast and retrieve bait that has a lot of action. It's really soft. I'm sure many of you have been using these. And then, like we said, the straight tail, the living the dream, is more when you're shooting your docks. We also have another technique that we've been using. It's basically you're looking at a slip bobber, and you've also got your bobber stop, and you kind of have a way that you have to put it on. First of all, you've got your bobber stop, which I think I put it back in the bag. They come like, there's like 8 in a pack, and size wise, this is a 4 to 8 pound, so that means 4 to 8 pound, the line that you are using. You basically take these out of the pack, and you've got a little button here, and you've got these bobber stops on these little wire extensions here. And you take your line and feed it through the loop that's there by the bobber stop, and then you feed that on your line. The nice thing is it enables you to change the depth real nice. You can slide it up and down on your line. You can also, this is possibly going to be, and it will be, it may be reeled up into your rod, and it still casts just fine. The nice thing is then you then put your slip bobber on, okay, like that, slip that on, and then you follow it up then with your straight tail or your swim, either
your
one.
straight tail, because it's more of a vertical. Once you cast it out, then it's just kind of, you're using the waves, you know, that thing just barely moving above a big school of crappie. They're out in the open, and that just a slight movement, but still staying in that strike zone will get them big schooling crappie to come up and grab it, you know, or a lot of times we'll just throw it out and just reel it really slow, you know, especially as it gets closer to the spawn and they start moving towards the bank and getting shallow.
Great thing about this is when this bobber slips back and forth on the line, when you go to cast, all your weight is going to be right here at the end with your bait. And then once you cast it out, then that bobber slips up to your bobber stop, and then that creates the depth that you are, that you're fishing. So you can slide that back and forth, your bobber stop, slide that back and forth as you need to. And again, you can cast it out, slow retrieve it back, and it has that that bobber just has that it sits like a normal bobber, and you just pull it nice and easy, and then you'll be able to use your bobber then to kind of help you know when you've got a bite.
It just makes it a lot easier to cast instead of having, you know, your bobber fixed, you know, 3 foot up from your jig, and yet all that thrown around, and when that'll really zing it out there when it's all bunched up like that, you know. So the crappie's been fairly good. Good days, bad days, but generally you can go out. Some days you really got to work for them, but you can, you know, throughout the day you can catch a good school of crappie right now. Some of them, you know, they're really tucked up underneath there and they're hard to get. And even some of them open water crappie, they're you're wrapping it tighter. You know, they're even a little tough. You know, I've been seeing it for a while now, but the live scope forward facing sonar, it's definitely having an effect as far as the fish are starting to get keen to it and they'll run from it. And I think it'll even kind of like shallow water when we, you know, turn our drafts off when we're shallow water fishing. They're starting to feel it, hear it, and just kind of getting keen to it to where they won't always bite, you know. And I think a lot of it is they know our presence, or you know, just something ain't right. So they're definitely, you know, they're fish just like any wildlife. they're going to adapt to whatever is in their environment when it affects them negatively, or they feel it or something. They just so you some days you got to work these schools a little harder with different baits, or maybe once you locate them, maybe not stay fixed on them with your forward facing sonar. Some days it's kind of like high pressure, low pressure. Some days it don't matter. You can point at them, stay on them, and they'll won't even affect them. But other days, as soon as you hit them with that, they'll move, and you'll have to chase them or follow them around. So they're definitely, at least I think so. They're definitely starting to adapt to it.
Yeah, and we talked about it the other day. We said this is the slowest time that the lake is at its slowest. You hardly have people on any of the docks making any kind of noises. You don't have your
right.
typical
So there's a lot
noises.
A lot less noise interfering
or
with everything. So it's so quiet out there and in the water that anything different, like sonar or what have you, stepping in the boats, anything, even casting in, hitting the water, they're going to pick up on that a lot more in the winter, dead of winter, when there's no sound, compared to summertime when there's boats running all over, people jumping off docks, this, that, and the other. What's that on your?
I did want to talk a little bit about this nifty little contraption. It basically helps you free any snagged lures that you have. It is called Lock and Knock. Fitz's has them at the stores here down at the lake, but obviously it's made by Leland's Lures. You can always look them up. They come in a 3-pack, and I just wanted to kind of show you. And we need to do an on the water video of this, because this is really awesome how this works. So basically you've cast out, whether it be to a brush pile, even if it gets hung up on a rock or something, you basically have a slot here in your Lock and Knock here, a slot that you put your line through. Okay, so you put your line through that slot, and then up here, this plastic, you twist that, and that locks it in. And then as you're standing there, then you let it go, and it goes down to your bait. So then sometimes on when it runs down the line, it comes loose. But a lot of times you do have to get over top of it and kind of let it slack, and then kind of let that go up and down a little bit, and you can feel all of a sudden it's came loose, and then you can reel it out. I'd say
percentage is probably 98% of the time it knocks your bait off of whatever it's snagged on. If once you're hung up, you don't just really pull and embed the hook in something, but still, if you work it long enough, it'll get them baits loose. Crappie, it's great for crappie jigs, but it works good on bass jigs too, or actually anything you get hung up. A lot of times, if you work it long enough, you can knock it off of the deal.
Keep one in your pocket. It's nice to have.
So the bass, what we've been catching them on, when we catch a few, but what we expect to be catching them on here, say from now through, I'm going to say April, which is the time we're coming into. Obviously your stick baits, kind of a go-to. This is a Megabass 110 plus 1. It's a little shorter bait, but it's got a little deeper bill on it that gets you down to, 6 to 8, 9 foot, sometimes depending on the line. Like this is a 8-pound test. You can throw it on 6, 8 is your normal stick bait line, maybe 10. It just helps that bait works better. But the stick bait, it's been, I ain't gonna say consistent, but it's been pretty good as far as you catch fish. It always is, especially if the fish are up roaming and actively feeding on shad. It's a good bait. But like we've been noticing ever since forward facing has been coming out, a lot of these fish we thought were suspended fish we're catching on stick baits were actually laying on the bottom. And like now, when you work that stick bait and you're watching it, and you'll see them fish come up off the bottom to hit it. So the fish they're on the bottom A lot of times, especially in the real cold, they'll go lay right on the bottom. I think it might be just a little warmer. They don't have to work. They just lay on the bottom, until something comes along or moves or gets their attention, and they'll come up off the bottom and hit it, like a jerk bait. Another bait we've been throwing quite a bit is just a little bitty swim bait. We're either throwing that easy shiner, on 6 pound test. No, not that one, the other one. 6 pound test with easy shiner on it, just to get down to them. It's a small, subtle bait, and they will, you'll see them come up off the bottom and grab that. A lot of times that's all they want is just a little bit subtle bait. I got another little Kitech I throw a lot. Another way I'll rig it is I'll put it like on an 1/8 ounce shaky head. This is a 1/8 ounce shaky pro head, one of Cracker Gators, but I'll rig that on there. It's got that coil keeper. You run it up on that coil keeper, and then you kind of rig it, almost Texas rig in there, bury that hook point in there, keep it nice and straight, and throw it out, and throw it just like a swim bait. But if you rig it like this, it'll allow you to almost drag it along the bottom, pop it into that brush, work it through brush, and then come out of that brush. You can really work this thing without getting it hung up, and get it down to them fish that are laying on the bottom, and almost just drag it over them, kind of get their attention, kind of, I don't want to say spook them, but in a way just startle them or spook them and get them kind of active. And you'll see them fish following it a lot of times, and then they'll eventually grab that thing if you keep it in front of them long enough. I rig that on braid, usually 15 pound braid with a 8 pound leader on it. That makes it a lot more sensitive when the bite's just, you're swimming out along and it just kind of gets heavy on you a lot of times. You won't feel a hit or a bite. It just kind of loads up on you and just gets a little bit heavy. It's kind of same with any of the bites right now, so that's a bait. If I was a co-angler fishing like the Toyotas coming up, BFLs, any co-anglers, or even if you're a boater actually, and you're struggling to get bites, a little swim bait like that will definitely get you some bites. When it's tough, that's kind of a go-to. That's actually what we caught them on last week, was that little Kitech. If I was a co-angler fishing that Toyota, I would definitely have one of those tied on, and I'd be throwing it. I'd throw it. I don't care if the guy's up front chasing fish with his forward facing. Just throw alongside the boat, throw towards the shore, let the thing hit the bottom, and lift it off the bottom and reel it extremely slow, and you're going to get bites on the thing. So something to keep in mind as a co-angler. And don't let that, if the guy's live scoping, don't even let it worry you. Them fish are all around, especially secondary points. It's kind of been productive. They'll stack up on these secondaries, and the whole point is full of fish down there. We fished that last tournament we fished from one side of the point in the center of it to the other side of the point, and the fish were all the way around that, and you can catch them from 12 foot to 24 foot of water. They were all out there stacked up, and they're going to just keep coming up as we get closer to spawn and moving closer to spring. Them secondaries just load up constantly, so something to keep in mind. And then of course our jigs, little jigs. You can see like this one here. This is a 3/8 ounce zapper, Ozarks crawl. Probably it's my favorite color, especially this time of year. Full skirt, full ring crawl. And then I take the same jig and I'll spider it up. You make it a real small profile, cut that skirt way down short, about even with the hook, and then trim your ring crawl up too. And now you just got a little bitty finesse jig that you can bounce and drag along a lot of times just to generate bites. So just that little bit of difference can make a world of difference of getting bites or not. A lot of times these fish, they just don't want to take in a big meal and have to digest it or chase it, and just a small little bitty finesse jig will get you some bites. Definitely as that water temp starts rising and we get up into the 40s, the jig bite, bottom bite is going to be a lot better Sometimes it gets pretty tough in the winter, but it'll definitely start getting better as we get into March. So that, another little bait everybody knows about, and it's just a little bitty Ned rig. And that little thing there will definitely catch you some fish. Same thing as a co-angler. I don't know if be hard to beat a little Ned rig early in the year, as far as to catch fish. Just rig it on a spinning rod reel. Make sure you got that braid on there, 15-pound braid, and then with a light leader. You can probably go 10, maybe 12. 10's probably best, even 8. And just put you on that little Ned rig, a little mushroom head. This one's got a little weed guard, and it's got a real good quality, small little hook. And usually what I'm doing on these, this young dinger, little dinger, and this is a little like a Cinco style, but it's only 4 inches. So that thing's only 4 inches. So I'll just take those right out of the packet and cut them in half and use them for my little Ned rig. It works perfect. You can cut them right in half, and then it's perfect little size to work for little finicky fish. When you're just out there trying to get a bite and generate some bites, can't hardly beat something like that. So, keep that in mind for, just getting bites, So some of these smaller, little bitty subtle baits will definitely generate some bites. I don't know what else we got. Of course, we got the Alabama rig. Definitely catching some on that. When I say finesse baits, little baits, trying to generate bites, those baits, yes. And then I bring this thing out, which is everything but finesse, or subtle. You just got this big, wide of, looks like a small school of shad that breaks off from a big school. A lot of times you can find them big schools of shad out in the middles, on the points, back on the flats, alongside docks, and just throw it up there and try to get just below them shad balls where the fish are coming up in them, feeding on them. You can reel this right along the bottom, let it hit the bottom and lift it up pretty quick, and then just kind of creep it just above them fish that are on the bottom and pull them big fish up off of the bottom. Obviously in the clearer water, it seems to work better. You'll pull them fish longer. They'll come 10, 12 foot off of the bottom to hit this thing. So, they'll come a long ways to hit that A-rig. It's just throw it on a 50-pound braid, and just a stout rod and a decent quality reel. The reel ain't real important. This is an older reel I have, and I have it schooled up with braid, and I leave it on there all year. When I'm on an A-rig or top water, whatever, and I want braid, I just pull that reel and put it back on that rod. So, the Alabama rig, it's definitely catching them. A lot of these bigger bags have been caught on it lately. The bite was actually a little better, a couple weeks ago, throwing the A-rig. It's a good locating bait. You can find some fish, like bass world, we can't use it, which is fine. But we found some fish in practice, throwing it, and then we went to the little small swim baits and caught them. So you can see on these, I like to use this little clear, got Velcro. Probably everybody's seen them by now, but they're pretty cool. They're clear, and you can wrap them around your A-rig and then squeeze them together and keep it up on the front deck like that when you're not using it or when you store it. So them wires and hooks ain't grabbing every other rod you have up on that front deck. So,
and they're definitely good for your jerk baits or
Yeah,
any other baits.
excellent for jerk baits, but it's easy to do it on your A-rig and storage and all like that. So, of course, the little swamp bug, it'll really start to play here. Once that water gets up in the 40s, the little 1/4 ounce shaky football head with your small swamp bug on there. Usually green pumpkin red, is kind of a go-to. There's several colors you can try them, different colors. Some days they want them better, but same thing as a jig. Just throw it out there, let it go to the bottom. drag it, bounce it real slow, keep it in strike zone, work different types of rocks, the bigger, the ledgier stuff, and then the mixed ledge, bigger rock, and then when you got even some little bit of pea gravel around there, as we start moving into March, you gotta look at that pea gravel and really start being aware of where that pea gravel mix is, or where these fish might be heading. With the water low, you can really see it, and see this stuff, these transitions, these bank transitions, the rock transitions, and where some of these fish might be headed to spawn. So that's probably about all we can really tell you. The little stick baits, they're working really good for the crappie when they get out in the open. A lot of times you can work that bait pretty erratic, but not really retrieve it. Just kind of jerking it to where it'll get their attention, come up and grab it. And you can really work on them big schools of crappie with a jerk bait when they're really starting to feed. So like this little Lucky Craft, this little pointer 68, 70. Pointer, I can't see it. 78. Little pointer 78. That thing's caught a lot of fish throughout the years. This little table rock shad, there's an Aurora Black that's real good. Pro Blue. Any of those work super good for the crappie. They're just a little smaller, and crappie will grab. You'll catch a lot of bass on them too. Yeah. You gonna say something like that?
Yeah, this is. They also have the juniors, the junior plus ones,
yeah,
and the junior plus twos, which really help with getting that bait down there where your school is. And of course, you've also got your suspend strips, your dots, and your wires that you can put around your hooks or
right
on your bait to really help get that bait down where
sinking that jerk bait. Most of them, they're suspenders now, so you throw them out, jerk them down there, 6 foot, they'll stay at 6 foot. But if you're fishing 18 foot of water and there's brush pile down there and fish sitting in 15 foot above it, some days you're gonna need to weight that jerk bait just enough so it'll sink and you can control it, get down to them and keep it in front of them if they're not wanting to be real aggressive and come out. So the fishing's it's middle winter. It's tough. Fishing is definitely tough right now, but it's going to get better soon. Within 2 weeks, I'm gonna say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to be real. It's going to be good. So just make sure you prepare for the cold. Get down here. Get you some good winter gear. Good like we wear them Afco Reapers all the time. They've got the little face cover you can pull up, good cinches, places for your pocket. They're good base layer, stuff like that. Gloves, obviously, 3-4 pairs of gloves. I try to keep some in my pockets while I'm wearing some and switch them out. Keep it warm. I don't know. She uses those hot hands all the time. Puts them in there.
Those in my pockets.
Little things that just help keep you comfortable.
Yeah, I take the toe ones and lay them on top of my toes, inside my shoes, and a heated vest. But definitely this time of year, sometimes just a little bit of wind makes a difference in how it feels out. And you almost always, you definitely have to cover your face and your nose. That's like big. And your head. Get a sock cap, and have something.
So we were talking the other day. This is my Vexus I bought at Sport World, and it's 2.5 years old now, and I don't have one. There's not one stress crack on this entire boat anywhere. There's nothing that's not like the day I brought it home. That's different than this on this boat. This drawer here, it doesn't rattle. It's solid. Everything's solid. There's not a stress crack anywhere on this entire boat, which is the first boat I've had in 30 years of having them that doesn't have a stress crack somewhere. So it's just kind of a testament to how well they are built. If you are looking for a boat that's going to last and withstand some of the stuff we put them through, especially here on the Ozarks. This boat pretty much primary stays on the Ozarks all year long. So, Gary down there at Sport World, he's got a bunch, I don't say a bunch, but he's got several in stock. He's got some new aluminum models that are really big now. Big, wide, big aluminum boats. They're running 250s on them.
Good seating.
Good seating. Just really laid out. Now he's got a brand new model down there. It's really nice boat. And then, the price is obviously going to be less than these fiberglass boats. So it's obviously a way of getting in a good quality boat without spending all the money that some of these are. So, but other than that, being the middle of winter, it is a good time, obviously, to go through your boat and check things out. Make sure your batteries are good for spring, ready to go. When you're wanting to go, you want your batteries to be ready to. Without batteries, you're done on the water. You can't run trolling motors. You can't start your big motor. You can't run no electronics, anything. So your batteries are really important. So, test your batteries, clean your terminals, go through them, keep them charged. If you're in the market for batteries, you need new batteries, whether it be deep cycle, lead batteries, acid batteries, or lithiums. Wholesale batteries, they have a place in St. Louis, a place in Kansas City. You can always call them. And these guys, that's what they do, batteries. So you need, you're setting up a new boat, an old boat, whatever, just call them guys and say, here's what I got, here's what I'm putting on it, here's what I'm running, and they're going to tell you what size battery. There's a lot of variations in battery sizes, and then their capabilities, and what they do, and so before I would buy any batteries anywhere, I'd at least call them and tell them what you got, what you're running, and they're going to tell you exactly what size or recommendation of what you're going to need so you don't have battery troubles. If you are having battery issues, call them and they'll talk you through it. They'll walk you, kind of troubleshoot through things. I've done it myself, and get you going and get you on the right path and keep you from wasting so much time trying to figure out an issue when they can help you out and do that. So that's wholesale batteries. Been dealing with them for about 5 years now. Had no issues with them at all. Whenever, if I have issues, they're on top of it and they take care of things. So other than that, Denise and I are going to go where it's warm for about a week, and then we'll be back, in about a week or so, and get back on the water, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on. We're getting several calls now on booking trips in the spring. The spring fills up fairly quick. People are wanting to get out, catch crappie, catch bass, see different techniques, whatever it is. And that's kind of, that's what we do when we take people out. The trip's about you and what you want to do. So if you're wanting to just go out and catch fish, that's what we'll do. We'll just go out and catch fish. If you want to learn a certain techniques, whether it be, little swim baits or jerk baits, jig fishing, Alabama, whatever it is, where, when, how to do it, that's what we'll do. If you have a house, a condo, resort, whatever on the lake, and you want to fish that area where you're gonna fish a lot, that's where we'll do your trip. We'll do it around where you want to fish, so you can learn that area, or learn techniques in that area, regardless where it is on the lake. We'll talk to you, and if that's what you want to do, that's where we'll fish. Otherwise, obviously, we keep up to date, and keep on top of them, and kind of know where the bite's the best throughout the year. And if that's what you want to do, then we'll go to those areas where the bite's best and do that. Obviously there's the lake's a big lake. Different areas turn on better and different areas fish better depending on what style of fishing you're wanting to do. So obviously we can help you with all that. Crappie crappie is only going to get better from now until May when they spawn. It's going to get really good. It's a lot of fun. You catch a lot of fish. If you just want to go enjoy the day on the lake with some, even some kids, or you don't fish a lot and you just want to do some easy, fun fishing, I'd say crappie fishing. You can't beat that, this time of year.
Yeah.
So, unless you got anything else to add, I'd say that's about it.
I will add just this, because I have this flyer. The Big Bass Bash, they have it in April and they have it in October. Well, they've added the crappie, they have a crappie challenge, and that is going to be the Big Crappie Challenge, May 17th and 18th. But that's also something, if you're
$50,000 for the biggest crappie.
fish, yeah.
And you can go on, the Anglers in Action, and check out all the rules, whatever it pertains to where you can fish, what type of boat. I believe you can fish. I just look at the rules and see if you can fish off a dock. I think you can, but you have to bring the crappie by boat to the weigh-in.
And they've got the weigh-in spots like they do for the Big Bass Bash, and they have 21 payouts, bi-hourly payouts. So it looks like it's basically from it starts at 6 a.m. and is over at 2 o'clock. So anyways, you can look online and find out more information.
Yeah, but that's going to be a
we'll
cool
talk
deal.
about it more.
I'm going to say that's probably going to be bigger than the bass, big bass bash eventually, just because everybody crappie fish, and it's a little different. You're going to go out, you're going to catch crappie all day. It's just trying to catch those bigger ones. So lake's full of big crappie. It should be a neat event for everybody. So take a look at that.
Oh yeah.
So, but other than that,
Give us a call.
we'll keep you up to date as things change. Obviously, they're going to start changing now, and we'll be doing reports a lot more often, as things change. So, if you want to get a hold of us, get a hold of me, 573-204-9005, or Denise.
Yep, get a hold of me at 314-226-3099.
Yep, and call, give us, we'll talk about a trip, we'll set it up, we'll talk to you about what you want to do, where you want to fish, what you're trying to get out of the trip, and then that's what we'll gear and design our trip around what you're wanting to do. That's kind of what we do. So
make when we do our post, comments or questions, be sure to put those with the the video when we post it, and we'll get back with you on any questions that
and
you
feel
have.
free to text us, email us, leave a comment on the video, and we will get back with you no matter what the question is. Just if it's something we can help you with down here at the lake, when you're coming down here, whatever it might be, if it don't even pertain to fishing, it don't matter. If we can help you, we will help you. So until